kind of get asked to talk about this all day long, and I can talk about it all day long, but I don't know, how to get
Yeah.
started. But anyways, well, thanks for coming on. Why don't we start off and you kind of introduce yourself, tell a little bit about yourself and your background and all that jazz.
Yeah, of course. Hi, everyone. I am Danielle Chaffin, Senior Solutions Engineer at Revenova. I've been here for 6 years this month. The company is 11 years old, and I've been here for 6 of them. So it's exciting to
Very
see
cool.
how far we've come. Yeah, it's fun. I grew up in the industry. I like to say that I've for 34 years of experience, which is not true, but it's fun to say.
Yeah.
I grew up, my grandfather was a truck driver. My dad was a truck driver. My grandfather just retired at 77 a few
Oh,
years
wow.
ago. Yeah, he had a very long career. And then my dad is still in the business. He's on the management side of the business now, but he will still drive when he needs to. And I did try to get out of the industry. I went to college. I got a master's in social work, very much focused on a specific population and then policy, which I had no idea all of this would come full circle at some point in my life, but it kind of has. And yeah, I got my master's, and then I was a freight broker for a year. That was all that it took for me to realize I did not actually want to do that. I learned a lot. It was fun, but it was so, so stressful.
Definitely stressful.
And yeah, I left the brokerage, went back to social work for a little bit, and then came to Revenova, and I've been here since.
Very cool. So how has your social work stuff correlated back over to this side?
Um, the human relationship and the selling part. I mean, I could have read business books on selling to learn what I did in that aspect in college, but really the policy, how the government works, how to get things done, that part, maybe it comes from books. I've never read one on it, so I don't know.
Yeah.
But I definitely learned all of that in college. And my mother was a politician when I grew up, and my dad was a bull hauler, so this is what they made.
Yeah.
Um, Fortunately, unfortunately, I'm not sure, but
Did
yeah.
you go to the TIA policy forum?
No, I didn't. I generally travel so much, it's very hard to add something new to my schedule
Yeah,
outside of work.
me too.
But yeah, I didn't
I know
go
I
to that
missed it
one.
too, but I do love what they're working on and trying to do with the Corca bill. I'm sure you've heard up on that,
Oh my
but
goodness, yeah, we need that so badly.
I know. So, it's funny, everybody. I was just telling Danielle, I'm like, we always talk about fraud all day long, both you and I. And so I was kind of like, let's just wing it. And I'm not even going to pull things in because we both get asked the same questions, I'm sure, all the time. And so I just kind of wanted to talk to you about what we don't bring up, I guess.
Yeah.
Because I think there's a lot of things that I know I see that, and I'm sure you see too, where, like, especially right now with like buying and selling MCs, that is, I can say a lot and be asked a lot of direct questions, but like this is what I like about having like my own podcast is I can kind of say all the different things without giving all the keys to the castle to the bad guys. But
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, and that's hard. There's a lot of stuff that I don't even post on LinkedIn. I only post on X because it's like literally every time I post on LinkedIn, there's someone that will come with the legalities of why this is legal and it's okay that they're doing it. And I'm like,
that's not
sure,
what I
it's
asked.
legal, but what
Right.
they're doing is not good.
Yeah. And it can be legal all day long, but whenever they like a lot of times, like even like selling MCs, for instance, there's a legal way to do that, but they're not doing it the legal way, you
No,
know?
absolutely not. And that's my point. Like, I'm not posting this stuff to show you that someone's doing a legal business sale.
Right.
I'm
Exactly.
posting it to show you that you need to pay attention to the contact changes because the carrier that you just booked that looks like they're 30 years old, certainly not the same person
Yeah,
that had it
exactly.
for 30 years.
Yeah, and what's wild to me is how care on the carrier side, like how do you not if they're like hand me the phone, transfer all this stuff over. And I get some of that with like a selling over a business, but some of it it's like there's I know like one guy was like, yeah, I was asked to not report anything to FMCSA for at least 30 days and they paid me extra. I'm like, I feel like at that point you're in on it too, Do you hear
Oh,
stories like that too?
absolutely. Yeah, I actually had one that came up today, which is a very interesting case, and I can't discuss all the details. But the MC, they got in quite a bit of trouble and they sold it, of course. And the guy that bought it had no idea what he
Mm.
was buying. And this is the part that I didn't actually know or didn't pay attention to or think about is that there is a certain number of years that trucking companies and brokerages have to keep their paperwork.
Mm.
And when that business is sold or that MC is sold, that paperwork still has to be there,
Right.
regardless of the owner. And the FMCSA, it's who I was talking to today, they said, we don't care who the owner is. We have to have this paperwork. And the new guy
Interesting.
was like, I don't have anything.
Wow. So what does he do at that point? Shut down the MC, I guess, and start over, and he just was out that money?
I don't know. I didn't ask about I don't know if he could have told me because
Yeah.
they had just gotten started on it. But yeah, I didn't even think about the paperwork part.
Yeah,
Well,
and
the documentation.
on the carrier side, so, like, I'm trying to do a lot of, like, carrier education because, like I said, it's, like that's kind of like a duh, and, like, whenever they are instructed to, like, reroute and meet in, like, the middle of a parking alley and they back up into a U-Haul, I'm like, "Can you freaking not do this?" Like, that is so obvious. But I guess that's where the educational part comes in. Um, and, like, I know whenever I'm a broker or whenever I was a broker, it was like I needed to whenever I was handling high value, back in my day, straight theft was it. Like, hey, you have to drive
Oh, yeah.
250 miles outside of the pickup because you're hauling a high value, like you're risking your life, whatever, that type of thing. And now it's a totally different ball game.
It is so different. And I remember, so I was a freight broker 2017, 2018. My carrier vetting was as simple as an MC that was 6 digits and did not start with a seven
Right. And
or
had
anything
insurance.
higher.
And that
That
was
was
it.
it. Yeah. And had
Yeah.
insurance. That was it.
Yeah.
That's all we looked for.
Yeah.
I cannot and we still have on the broker and the carrier side so much misinformation about what they need to be looking for,
Totally.
but I cannot imagine trying to vet some of these carriers or if I was a carrier or broker.
Yeah. So what are the big things I guess that you preach out there on what they should be looking for?
One of the biggest ones would be coming from the selling and buying of those MCs or USDOTs from Facebook. Um, the contact changes and the associations between the companies. The VIN number is tracked. We can track those through the inspections when
Mhm.
the officer, highway patrol, DOT officer, whoever does it, when they log that inspection, they log the VIN with it. And so we can track that VIN with associated companies. And so when you see 5, 6, 7 VINs moving or more, moving from one USDOT to the next, to the next, to the next, like there's a reason that they're not sticking with that company.
Right.
And it's not because the drivers are going in a group together to get a new job. It's
Right.
because the company has been shut down for whatever reason and they've had to move to a new USDOT.
It's wild to me that the FMCSA doesn't kind of pick up on that and see this VIN is associated with all these scamsters. Maybe we need to shut down that driver, or I don't know. I think there's only so much I feel like FMCSA should do, and you don't want to give them all the power. There's a lot of power struggle there, and like I don't know the non-government side of me is like, don't tell them to do all this stuff. But on the other hand, it's like, can you guys do something for the love of God? But I know
Yes.
they try to, they're making changes, but what are some things I guess that you think, if you could write the manuscript that you wish that FMCSA or the government in general could do better?
Yeah, I mean the first part is when someone is registering a new USDOT. So not buying one off Facebook, not like the transfer or the sale, but registering a new USDOT and being able to link that with an existing one, whether it's a name or an email address or phone number or address, we could start there. And I'm not saying that they have to like put a huge red X that USDOT is not going to be approved, but at least flag it
Uh-huh.
and let someone look at it.
Yeah.
That would be so, so easy.
And to me, like they have I mean, like the government has the IRS records, your social security number that ties to all these different entities. They can, trust me, they can see all of your stuff because I'll get audited on my IRS thing, and they're like, "Oh, you forgot to submit this, this, and this, and this came in your bank account." I'm like, "Why are you in my bank account?" And so they can see all that. That's what I don't understand. And of course, some of it's an invasion of privacy, some of it's not. So there's like that fine line, but there's definitely on a social, like a business entity level, you can see affiliations. And if they're not disclosing that, huge red flag.
Absolutely. I used Replit a couple weeks ago, I think, to do like what I would do if I was like given the keys to the FMCSA registration. And so it's like fill out the initial form, and then it was a checkbox that said, "Are you associated with any other entities?" Because we have that now.
Hmm.
And the person clicks no, and then it comes up and it's like, "We found that this is associated with this many companies," and then you click submit to submit the application. It comes up this big red box that we're not playing games anymore.
Right. That's what it needs to do for sure. No, that's a great suggestion.
But
I
it
think
would
that
be,
alone.
I mean, it's very simple logic from a technical perspective to be able to link those, because linking the VINs is great. I still think we need to do that. I'm not saying that we shouldn't. We still need to be able to do that, but we're not going to do it for a new registration because we don't have inspections for that one yet.
Right.
But I go through the registrations every month. There are so many registrations that clearly are gaming the system with duplicate entries or like the 12th entry for
Yeah.
themselves. And it's so crazy. I just did I was a keynote speaker at a insurance client seminar on Monday. And there was one example that I shared. And in 2017, this guy was accused of having chameleon carrier like behavior.
Hmm.
He was registering DOTs, and at the time, he only had three. They were all in his name, all at the same address, same email, same phone number, exactly the same.
Mm.
That was in 2017 with those three. The FMCSA said, no, we don't think that he's doing what you're saying he's doing. Since 2017, he now has 10 US DOTs, or has had, because a couple of them have gotten shut down. And I'm just like, what in what world is this
Yeah.
not chameleon like behavior?
And why would you need, like, what is a legitimate reason why you would need 10 different MCs? Like, why? You know what I mean? It doesn't, it doesn't make sense to me. You would want one company to look bigger to get more business. Like, knowing how the world of logistics works, you want a bigger company. So I don't understand why having more than one entity. I kind of get it whenever it's like you're doing like certain types of freight here, or you need like, like a like a defense whatever thing here, like you have to separate some things, but
Yeah.
at a maximum would be like, let's say three. More than
Yeah.
that is like, what are you doing?
And that's one of the arguments that I've gotten in, kind of argument. I would call it a debate about the MC and US DOTs, is because multiple companies can have multiple MCs.
Hmm.
And the DOT is like the parent identifier. And then you can have multiple MCs. But what the chameleon carriers are doing, what those people are doing, they have multiple US DOTs and multiple companies. And they're
Right.
just flipping from one to the next to the next. And then even the ones buying them on Facebook, it's not just the MC that they're buying, like this part of the business. They're taking over the entire thing.
Right.
And that is again because that USDOT has existed for years and it looks good on paper, and they have already ruined one or more companies and they need a new one to go to so they
And
can
even if,
keep running freight.
yeah, and even if it's not on the fraud side of things, like Hope Trans, for instance, they had multiple different MCs that had fatalities. They shut down and started over. And it's like
Yep.
even that being tied together, it's the same business owner. It's not rocket science. Like that should have
And
been stopped.
that one is, I mean, there's no, I would say there's no sense in letting that happen. The entire fleet VIN numbers moved from one USDOT. It was, there's one that was super old, so old that I couldn't get data on. That was Fiorito Trucking. But then there was Cardan Trucking. And then the entire fleet moved to B Zone Logistics. And then the entire fleet moved to Hope Trans. I'm just
Hmm.
like, at what point do we not say, hey, maybe we should look into what these people are doing?
Right. Do you feel like the updates that FMCSA did with the edemia, do you feel like that is enough to trust new carriers? Like for a while there, I was saying, and now I'm like, I don't know if I shouldn't have said that or not, but for a while there, I was thinking, if it's a brand new carrier, it's almost a little bit better than using a existing carrier because they have to do the facial recognition. It's a little bit more whatever, and you can find them. Some people won't use them. You can find them cheaper. You can build a relationship with them and so forth. So, like using a brand new carrier, I was like, I don't really feel like it's a bad thing. Obviously, there's more vetting that needs to go in with
Yeah.
it. Always, like, do not just say it's not like we said 2017 where you're checking and that's it. But what's your take on that?
Like as a broker using a new carrier?
Yeah, like do you feel like
Oh,
they're a little bit more secure with the new updates or
I think it's definitely a little bit more secure. And I think that's where the connections by address or by email, phone number, that where that can come into play.
Mhm.
Because if it is a new carrier and they made it through FMCSA, they were approved, but then I see that they're linked to 12 other companies, that's where I would like raise a red flag. But if it's a new carrier, there's an example I put on LinkedIn that it was older guy. He's been driving for 30 years. He decides to spin up his own trucking company, go off on his own. I named him Jim. Jim starts calling around to brokers to get freight, and no one will give it to him because he's brand new.
right,
And I think that when we set the rules for the bottom of the barrel, the criminals, the people who are really doing things the worst way possible, we push out the good guys, the
totally.
very small carriers, the owner operators. We push them out, and I don't think that's fair. I definitely don't like that. My dad was an owner operator when I was a kid, and that part really gets under my skin.
Me too. No, I'm in the exact same way. Some of my very best carriers were ones that did not look great on paper, but
Yeah.
I got them at the best rate. We became really good friends. Like it wasn't that they were bad people, and I think in the grand scheme of things, fraud is technically like 1% of all transactions in logistics. Like, yeah, it can cripple your business. It is a big deal. Like I always say that it's not that I'm taking it lightly, but it is 1%. The
Yeah.
99% of the people out there are doing the right thing. Maybe their safety isn't the best. And I actually just reposted Matt Leffler's thing today about how even like the CDL schools and the training and like that all needs to be redone and stuff like
Oh
that.
my
But
goodness. Yeah.
oh my gosh, that I could talk about that forever too, but, what was I just saying? I can't even remember, but I don't even remember. Anyways,
The owner operators. There
owner
was,
yeah. Like, I
there's,
lost it.
you mentioned the 99% and 1%. And when we set those rules for that 1%, then we're excluding so much of that 99.
Mhm.
And that sucks. I mean, there are so many owner operators who will go years without having an inspection.
Right.
And that's a good thing.
Yeah, I agree.
That's okay. They don't have to have an inspection to prove their legitimacy.
Right.
And so there's so many rules that are set for that 1% by a lot of our carrier vetting tools that it just, like, it's almost like common sense has been taken over by the technology.
Right.
And I love technology. I work for a technology company. I
Right.
love technology, but there's so much common sense that's lost in it. And I don't like that.
No, I'm the same way. Like, I'm like, you should have a vetting process, and
Yes,
then your tech should be automating some of that, but it still should have a human element. So
absolutely.
with the human element part of it, what's your take on AI? Like I feel like it's kind of the next wave. I think that it's going to make it where people are going to get even more lazy than they already are on vetting, and it's going to open up a whole nother door. If AI is done correctly on a tech part where like you're just basically being like the compliance manager and like, hey, you forgot to check this. Hey, this is part of our rules and you didn't do this. Then I think it'd be great. But I just feel like we're gonna choke hold each other kind of with it.
Yeah. I would, every time AI comes up in carrier vetting, we have to go to the source for that data, and the source is the FMCSA. And for the past 9 months, I just have doom scrolled through that data, and
Mhm.
it is the biggest mess that I've ever seen in my life. I will dump CSV files into ChatGPT or Grok sometimes, and if I clean them up, it's fine, just to get like any commonalities or last names, addresses, what have you. But if I dump the raw file in there, most of the time it has no idea what to do with it. Or it'll
Wow.
just like make things up. And I'm like, that's not what we need to be doing. So when it comes to that, if we have technology that has cleaned up the data that's coming in from the FMCSA, I think AI would be okay. But there's so much in this vetting process that truly requires a human and our intuition. Like if something feels off with the carrier, it probably is,
Yeah.
especially if you've been doing this for any amount of time.
Right. Totally.
And AI doesn't have that intuition, and that part scares me.
Mhm.
I've heard so many stories over the past few months of carriers being like green lighted in a vetting tool. And so then they get the freight and something goes horribly wrong.
Yep.
Either a tragic accident like Hope Trans or freight is stolen. And
Yep.
it made it through the carrier vetting tool. And I'm like, if you would have called them, I promise you would not have given them your freight."
100%. Yeah. And even if they're in someone's email and they can even spoof their phones now and grab text messages now. I mean, like it's a lot more like a single sign on even isn't going to stop everything. Like there really
Yes.
isn't an answer other than going back to the basics. And I think
Yes.
because I've been in the industry a long time, so have you. Both you and me are kind of like get back to where we were before, where we're doing that manual phone call. And I was guilty for it too because I was a broker during 2020. I was I've been in the industry 10 years, 2 years in tech, and I whenever we got sent home, we didn't have phones to even take home. It was before we had VoIP and stuff. And so we had to post either to our cell phones, and I wasn't giving drivers my cell phone numbers. No,
Yeah.
thank you. And but I had to post to my email, and then it made it where like I just was like, this is easy. I was turning and burning loads, and I was done so early, and I could do whatever I want to as COVID. And so I think we just got so used to not talking to people.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean the most underrated carrier vetting tool right now is a 5-minute phone call.
Right. Yeah, and, like, somehow some people won't even collect the driver information. I'm like, why are you not getting the driver's phone number? Why would you not get this? What is your problem? Let alone truck and trailer number, like, that should be a mandatory thing. Even if it's not accurate, providing that to your shipper, and trying to get them to at least be,
Yeah.
helping with it. Have you been doing a lot of or go ahead, sorry, were you gonna say something?
I was just gonna say with the ELD connections, I think that that has gotten us away from getting like the driver's information quite
Right,
a bit. Uh, I can tell you I've done a lot of work with the ELDs, and they can spoof the locations and the information in those just as much as they can
totally.
a cell phone.
Yep. Especially it depends on the ELD. There's certain ones that are better than others, like security wise, but there are so many ELD companies. So it's take your pick on who they're using and what they're doing with it. And most people
Yes.
aren't asking who's your ELD company and knowing who to work with and stuff like that.
Yeah. I wish they would. If we collected the ELDs at an inspection when carriers are cited for not logging their hours correctly or there's nefarious acts going on, the FMCSA could clean up the ELD mess so quickly.
Yeah, I'm sure it's all tied to the same, or at least like similar ELD companies over and over again.
Yes.
Yeah. Kind of like with insurance too. Do you kinda keep track on that too with, like, certain insurance companies? I don't think insurance companies are in on it, but I have talked to, like, the Banner Report guy, and he was telling me, like, he worked for a company that was totally fine with it, and they just look the other way. Have you gotten that rabbit hole?
I haven't. I've stayed away
It's a
not
rabbit
stayed
hole.
away. Yeah,
Yeah.
I haven't went down the insurance. I don't understand the insurance enough to really even know where to start. I do know a lot of the criminal operation rings that I found and started putting the companies together that there's always an insurance broker or insurance agent in there somewhere.
Mhm.
So that would be very easy
Yeah.
to, I mean, if you have an insurance agent within your criminal ring, of course, you're going to get insurance.
Right.
But I haven't went down that
Yeah,
rabbit
it's
hole.
a rabbit hole, but and, like, for a long time, people were like, "Progressive is bad," and it's like, Progressive is an enormous company. I promise you they're not in on anything. They're not checking anything. It's all automated. But
Yeah.
at the end of the day, they do pay claims if you take them to court, so Just saying, people. People don't push back enough, and they don't take them to court. And you can, and a lot of times you can win. But on the brokers talking to shipper level, or you educating shipper level, um, what are some things, I guess, that you've done or seen that's been helpful when you've been talking to shippers or on stage and getting feedback, that type of thing?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest things right now is having someone at the pickup or delivery location, um, shipper, receiver, consignee location, just being able to verify that the truck coming in is who he says he is. And so you mentioned the truck number or the trailer number. That information should go to the shipper
Yeah,
so
totally.
they can look at it and just say, "Hey, it takes 5 seconds to look at it and say, yes, this is the guy that's supposed to be picking it up." And there are so many shippers that I've heard indirectly that they don't have time or they don't have someone on the dock. But at the same time, if you're loading hundreds of thousands of dollars or even tens of thousands of dollars of your freight onto a truck and you're not checking to make sure that it's the right one,
Yeah.
I would take the 5 minutes out of the day to go make sure that's the right truck.
Totally. I was just at the Cargo Theft Summit with travelers, and they were explaining, and I love the way they explain this, and I wish I had all the numbers that they said, but they were explaining how one stolen load, it isn't just the value of that freight, but it goes back to either what they would have made on the shelves,
Hmm.
the downfall of it not being on the shelves, and how that looks in the consumer eyes, and the price tag on that, and then going back to them actually manufacturing it, the materials that they have to collect, like all this stuff, and where they would have made more revenue because they would have made more product instead of replacing. I got to find those numbers and throw that out there because that number is wild. And as a
Yeah.
shipper, even if your broker is paying for a claim, you are missing out on all this other money that is on the table. Come on, people. Yeah.
Yeah. And I forget who it was. Someone was telling me that they are starting a study or launching to get funding for a study to do just that,
Oh, I
but
love
like
that.
nationwide.
Hmm.
Because we have the numbers of like how much cargo theft we've had over the past few years, but none of those numbers are actually accurate
Right.
because A, cargo theft isn't always reported.
Right.
B, we don't have a centralized place to report it. And it's usually just the cargo value
Yeah.
that gets reported. And so those numbers, while they're somewhat of like an average accurate, they're not true numbers.
Yeah.
And so I'm very anxious to, I hope that that goes through
Yeah. Me too.
and they can get those true numbers.
Yeah, because I think, it's a much bigger thing than what we know. Because other than, like, Travelers and CargoNet and them and, like, other insurance companies kinda working together, there's like, my brokerage was paying things out of their pocket without ever touching insurance because they didn't
Yeah.
want their money to go out, and they were not putting that on CargoNet. And so and that this was, like, way back when, but they would just write a check and move on with the day on the of their day, and that was even just claims, like, not even just stolen freight, that was claims. There's a lot of things that, like, or they may classify it as a different type of claim than a theft and trying to get out of this and that, and or like they'll claim it as a shortage, especially with like cluster theft, and it's not a shortage,
Yeah.
it's theft.
Yeah.
Um,
I think that's one of the, Scott Cornell was at the insurance client seminar that I was at this week and spoke after me on Monday. And from what I've seen and from what he presented, the taking of like one or two pallets is far more common right
mhm.
now, like the greatest issue that we're having. And I was working, I don't know, some girl found my website and sent me all this stuff, and she hired a private investigator to find these people and what was happening and sent me all of the image from the private investigator.
Wow.
And so they would have, yeah, it's really wild, but it's happening all the time. And they have trucks coming into this like rental storage place, and they will unload one or two pallets, go put them in one of the storage buildings, and then the truck will go on to the destination.
Mm,
And
yeah.
so the whole truckload is not stolen,
Right.
but you're short one or two pallets, and that's where the claims come in. It's not a theft per se, it
Right.
is, but to the company, it may not be, and they may just pay for those two pallets.
Right.
When really this is happening to, I don't know, tens, maybe hundreds of companies, and they're taking one and two pallets off. And if we had that information, knowing that it's happening over and over and over every single week,
Right.
then it would be much easier to look further into it. Where are these trucks going? Where are they supposed to be going?
Yeah. And who's buying the freight after it's stolen? I think that's something that nobody has really looked into. Like whenever I was with CHP last 2 weeks ago, they were saying how that's kind of like their next step is they're really trying to hunt down who's buying this, and a lot of it's being shipped overseas when it's a
Yes.
full truckload. But on a pallet level, which they're seeing a lot more of the cluster theft, on the
Yeah.
pallet level, a lot of those are being just moved within the US, either on Marketplace or on Amazon or on eBay
Mhm.
or whatever. But even just mom and pop stores, like they're grabbing these deals of whatever. Like I saw one the other day that was Kraft mac and cheese. It's like a whole thing of Kraft mac and cheese, and they were just going to different grocery stores saying that this was a what did they even say it was? Something was like a damage with the shipment.
Damaged goods,
Yeah,
yeah.
damaged goods, and so they were having to front the bill as a trucking company, and they were wanting we were needing like wanting help on this. Can you pay X dollars? I'll give it to you super cheap, whatever. And so that's how they were able to move it. And it's like, and th- and
Ridiculous.
good guys do the same thing. So it's like, how do you vet that? You know,
Yeah.
I can go down rabbit
Yeah,
holes
it's
forever.
wild.
This stuff is just crazy to me.
There's so many. And I mean, I do feel like a lot of this hasn't been talked about for a long time, or maybe it has in certain circles, but
Yeah,
it's kind of been siloed. Those conversations are siloed, and no one wants to be the bad guy, especially on the broker side. When something happens, they don't want to like talk about it,
right,
but it's happening so often that if we don't talk about it, then it's going to continue happening. And I want people talking about it.
right. And even if, like, I understand the brand reputation and you're trying to get shippers and you don't want to put on LinkedIn that, hey, I had a load stolen or whatever. I totally get that, but I think
Yeah.
you're like me, where we both get reports in all the time, like, "Hey, this happened to me." Having like a advocate out there that can speak on your behalf. I know Scott
Yeah.
Cornell gets a lot of those too. Like that is how we learn as an industry and talk about it. And unfortunately, like Scott's always like, "Quit putting all this stuff on the internet." I'm like, "I'm only putting what's on the internet, what's already out on the internet."
Yeah.
But that's also like how we can say, "Hey, this is a new trend." Maybe whatever. If I can stop a couple brokers from getting scammed, maybe
Yeah.
educate somebody else, but they have the defenses at least. I don't
Yeah,
know. It's a
absolutely.
win-win, I think. Yeah.
Absolutely. There was one yesterday. Guy contacted me on X and I gave him my cell phone number to call me, but he had a couple of brokers that had called him super early in the morning that just to check and make sure that the load was real. He was a trucking company or the son of a trucking company, and the brokers were about to give this company freight. That trucking companies out of Pennsylvania, they don't even run in Texas, but the
Mm,
loads were coming out of Laredo, and it wasn't him. And so
crazy.
I was like, I don't know how to help you from like a legal perspective right at this moment. You'll have to give me time there, but I'm going to get this out to as many people as possible.
Well, and then what
And
happens on that point, then most of the brokers put all sorts of freight cards on that carrier. That's identity theft. That's
I
not the
know.
carrier. But
And
also, how do you know for sure the carrier's not in on it? Other than like that guy, that's
yeah.
hard.
And there was one person that commented, I think it was on X, and was like, should we put a freight guard? I was like, no, no,
Yeah.
this carrier's not doing anything. And if someone sees a freight guard, they may not even read the whole thing.
Hmm.
And it's not him. And so I was like, no, don't do that.
Well, and we almost need like and maybe I'm thinking of like a whole new tech invention that we should have, but we almost need like a little Yelp section. Like as much as I think 411 is kind of turned into Yelp, let's get that off of there and keep like the bad things there. But like the things are like, hey, this guy's had an identity theft. These days, this is who's
Yeah.
posing as it. It's not a bad marking. It's just saying whatever. I don't know
Yeah.
how we would do that, but some way of communicate, like a forum where we're all talking, but not destroying
We've,
people's lives.
I say we, I didn't do any of this. Garrett Allen has built searchcarriers.com.
Hmm.
And so on search carriers for the paid tier, the pro tier, which it's $19 a month and totally worth every single penny of that, we have the risk scoring. And so like the one yesterday, that's where I put in the risk score. It's not a carrier 411 report. It's
Right.
not that, hey, this has happened. It was just the facts of like, on this day, the carrier's email inbox was breached. Alexa is trying to book loads. The end.
Yeah. Did the carrier did you I guess were you like call truck stop, make sure you get your stuff reset, shut down your
Hmm.
account? Yeah. Because that's
Yeah.
kind of the only steps you can take. Shut down everything and pause business for a while.
Yeah. And I do see opportunity in the industry for more collaboration on that part
Mhm.
because at that moment, for probably 30 minutes, I felt like I was defenseless in a way because I all of the load boards, all of the vetting technologies, they compete
Yes.
and I need all of them to agree that like we're having an issue
Yeah.
and
Shut
like
this
get this
carrier down for a
information out.
while. Right.
Yeah. Yeah. Like put something on there that warns the brokers that this is happening so they don't give them freight. And it's not a race to see who can do it first from those platforms. It's just
Protect all the
protecting
masses.
the
Yeah.
industry and trying to help with this.
Yeah. So like at MCP, we have like a thing where like if a carrier says, "Hey, I've been compromised," we like basically suspend them from being able to onboard at all. And then if they're like, "Hey, I got everything in line. This is what's," because we give them the instructions like, once you hit this and you did this, this, and this, call us back. We'll reactivate you. Hopefully they don't have any type of freight guards where they can't operate anymore. But
Yeah.
yeah, like you said, that almost should be like a standard, and there should be like a link or email box that shoots out to everybody and we all get the message to shut it down. But then also how do you inform carriers and not have bad actors get into it? And I don't this is like such a tricky world we're in.
Yeah. Yeah. And I that was the first one that I've had that was like an emergent
Yeah.
thing yesterday. Usually it's someone letting me know after the fact, or I've helped quite a few carriers with getting in touch with the FMCSA when someone's changed the information on their account,
Yeah.
which is such a hassle. Um, but that was the first one where it was like, we have to do something right now
Right.
because these people are trying to book freight under their company and it's not actually them.
And thank God that brokers or those brokers were calling.
Yeah. Yeah, I know that one of them I got the email that they had there's something with the TIA, a watchdog
Yeah.
report. They had one of the brokers had turned in one of those, which I was thankful. And I'm not a broker, so
Yeah.
I'm not even sure that I can turn one of those in, but
I
just
think
being
you have
able
to
to
be
get that
yeah, I think you
information
have to be
out.
part of TIA, I think, to
I
submit a
am
watchdog.
that.
Yeah.
I'm just not a broker.
Well, I think you
I
should.
should talk to them about that.
Yeah, I'm sure you can get it where you can put reports in or something on their behalf. But a watchdog is almost the same thing as a freight guard. Like it's looked at just as bad.
Yeah, and it's like, this is not the actual carrier. This
Yeah.
is just what's going on with the carrier.
Yeah. And it's temporary. It's not like they're not compromised for life. Where like,
Yeah,
like that should be taken down after. Like I'm even fine if a freight guard's up there, like, hey, that somebody's posing as them and it's up for like X amount of time until they get a hold of their, cybersecurity and then they are able to take it down. Like even that's fine, I think.
absolutely. Absolutely.
But then at that point, it goes around that like all those brokers have that email chain where they're doing the block list, like add this onto your block list, and then you'll see, like I'll see on MCP where it's like an email goes out and it's like brrr, like tons of blocking at one time, and I'm like, oh my god, this is. And then I'll get a call usually later, like, hey, I'm a legit carrier, but something happened to my stuff, and I'm like, oh my god, shut down and start over. No, not really, but that's what it feels like they should do. It's
Yeah,
crazy.
yeah. It's the reputation part on the carrier side is we we have a great opportunity to fix because I
Yeah.
just hate the good carriers, and typically it's small, mid-sized carriers,
Yep.
owner operators, small, mid-size, the ones that are really affected by that reputation that they didn't even do anything,
Yeah.
and I hate that.
I hate that too. I know. I feel exactly the same way. With, the carriers that are selling the MCs, they're holding on to everything. They buy everything and they don't report anything to FMCSA. There's no contact changes. What has been your advice on that? Because that I think is the biggest. How the heck do you stop these guys?
Um, I don't know yet.
Okay, good.
I
I feel the same way. I'm like, other than I'm like on a driver level verification at that point, and then making sure they have insurance. At the end of the day, that's really all you can do. File a claim if something does happen. But gosh, that one's hard. How do you do that?
I this part is one of those things that no matter what we do from our seats, no matter what any vetting platform does, we're working downstream of
Yeah,
the actual issue and we're just trying to react and like band-aid what's actually happening. There has to be some type of flag at the FMCSA
yeah,
and additional verification when a contact is changed. And so one of the ways that somehow they're getting around it, and I guess I do understand what they're doing, but the, wow, the small trucking companies that I've helped get in touch with the FMCSA to say, hey, someone has changed my contact information, they're trying to book loads. The way that they're doing that is not through filing the MCS 150 that
hmm
like updates all of the contact information. They're they have gotten a link somewhere where they've gotten into the carrier's FMCSA account
yeah.
and they're just changing it from there. When that happens, the FMCSA rep will come back and say that they don't see any changes on their side and that the carrier should, for lack of better words, take better care of their passwords.
Interesting.
And that has happened quite a few times and it's infuriating because it's not hard to log changes in a database. And so I don't
Yeah,
really understand. Um,
interesting. Hopefully,
mhm.
because I know they're trying to merge the three systems that they have into one. So it's like they must know that one of them is easy to be compromised. Crazy. I
Yeah,
didn't know that.
yeah. Um, so that sucks
Yeah.
because for those small carriers that have had their information changed, and on the ones I worked on, they were just changing. They didn't change the name, they didn't change the phone number, they changed the one letter in the email address.
Mm,
And so instead of like JK Trucking or trucks.com, it would just be
yeah.
jktruck.com or at gmail.com, whatever. So that part, there just has to be more in place logging in. Yes. And then also verifying those changes. Like
Yeah.
I should have to go back to the original owner and have that person verify the changes
Right.
before they go through.
Especially now that they have IDEMIA, like, let's verify this, which I know that, like, they say that's, like, the next phase 2 or whatever. But to me, the FMCSA data should go strictly from the business license data because that's gonna be
Yes.
totally different. They should just
Oh,
be
it is
syncing that
always
up.
different.
Right.
So different. The names on the I found so many names on the FMCSA, like the company officer. The person either does not exist or it's an alias of a person and absolutely never match. I won't say never. A lot of times in the ones that I'm looking into, it never matches the corporate filing.
Yeah, ever. And why is that? Why would that not be a thing? I feel like you have to do that with bank accounts and all. So, like banking, for instance, they had fraud rampant for a long time and they kind of got a hold of things. So, I don't understand why we haven't adopted the same type of methods. Just
Yeah,
like
I
that,
don't
the business license that your identity follows your business license. Ooh, follows your business license, which follows, everything, which that's like how you get a bank account. That's where your money goes. And like that's and I know like Dale's freight validate stuff, that's what his thing is a business license. And I totally agree. But I think that needs to be baked into the registration FMCSA. And then those databases should be talking. Like there's no way there's not APIs where they read it. Because I can read that as a tech company. Why have you guys not figured
yeah,
this out?
yeah,
It's crazy.
yeah. That's usually when I'm looking into something, that's the second place I go
Yeah.
is to the corporate filings.
Wild. So any other things I guess that you're saying that you want to bring to everyone's attention on new trends or things that they should be doing differently in their vetting process?
I think I don't remember if we mentioned it here before we started the call, but relying on the ELDs. I've seen a lot of that recently. And I've done a lot of work into or looking into the ELDs.
Mhm.
And so with the FMCSA, to certify an ELD, it is self certified the same way
Interesting.
you self-certify a new trucking company, which we know that that's a mess.
Right.
With the ELDs, those are also self-certified. So you get the software or you create your own program and you turn it into the FMCSA and you say, I did the right thing and check a box, and then you have a certified ELD.
Wow.
Yeah, huge issue,
That's
major
crazy.
issue.
That's why there's so many. There's so many
Correct.
ELD companies. It makes zero sense.
Correct. I know that the FMCSA is working on this much more than probably they have in a long time, and that's because we've realized that there are serious issues with them.
Yeah.
A
Safety
lot.
concerns.
Oh my goodness, yeah. National security, it's really scary. Um, a lot of those ELDs are purchased through the same companies. I know of a handful of them in particular, and you buy the hardware and you buy the software.
Hmm.
And so you buy the hardware that plugs into the truck, and then the software, you just change it to look like your company. So you can change the color, you can change the logo or like the text in there, but they're all the same on the
Oh,
back
interesting.
end. And you can look at like the Google App Store or the Apple App Store and look at the screenshots, hundreds of the same ones.
Wow. That's
And
crazy.
those, yeah, those are also the ones from a technical side. If you have access to the code of something like an ELD, you can do whatever you want.
Right. Totally.
So, resetting drivers' hours, making it where a driver can reset his own hours, that's not hard at all.
Let alone location. That's not hard.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And a lot of those ELDs that are within the same groups, all of the support or the 24/7 ELD support is overseas. And so
Mhm.
all of that data is feeding into those data warehouses, basically, that's not in the United States. So that's quite an issue. And
Yeah.
then the locations can be spoofed, just
Totally.
like they can do it on a phone. And
Yeah.
so relying on the ELDs to do everything and get all of that data for us is just, it's silly.
It's silly. Well, and even like the history, like that's another thing where I think if you're strictly going off of ELD history, they can still backdate and put information
Oh
in
my
there.
goodness, yeah.
That's where I think you need to go off of something that's out, like even if it's manipulated ELD information, but it's going into, I don't know, something like tracking or something else. Like it goes into this, then it's being done because then they can't reroute and rechange and manipulate that type of things. I don't know that if that makes sense. I think I'm rambling, but you know what
Yeah.
I mean. Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, this is like conspiracy at this point, but most of my conspiracies unfortunately are have
I
proven to be
love
true.
conspiracies.
But a lot of the ELDs pass paperwork too. So rate confirmations, driver dispatch, proof of delivery, bill of ladings, they all go through the ELDs. And if the ELDs are not set up in a way that those are secure, or if hundreds of ELDs feed back into the same data warehouse, and then we realize that we have fake documents going out to
Crazy.
get freight that's not ours. Like, it's not always the email inbox.
Right.
It's
Wow.
because there are groups of people who have thousands and thousands of loads and all of the data that goes along with those loads.
Yeah, they can go in and do whatever, make up a pickup number and whatever.
Correct.
Yeah, like whenever I was at that cargo theft summit, they were talking about like in India, for instance, there's like call centers, just like there's call centers
Hmm.
everywhere, but there's call centers that they do all day long is hunt for freight to steal. That's what,
Yep.
and they don't, and that culture is so different. Like their fraudulent activity isn't like, I don't know, such like a huge red flag to us where we'd be like, this doesn't seem right and throwing up our hands. They're like, I'm making money. I don't
Yep.
know. I've never been there, so I don't really want to talk on culture, but like it seems more
No,
accepted
it is
there.
true.
Yeah.
It absolutely is. And it's, I
And that's a lot of other
usually,
countries, but
yeah,
yeah.
absolutely. I mean, we are a gold mine
Yeah.
for the things that they want, and we're allowing it through things like self-certified ELD or running an entire transportation operation from a different country. That's crazy.
Yes.
Um, a
Totally.
lot of our, yeah.
Totally.
I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole right now,
We'll be here
but
for hours. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Our a lot of our regulations or like rules, especially with self-certified ELDs or the trucking company registration system, I truly believe that it was built on a high trust society and it was
Right.
built on the honor system. And then when we have thousands and thousands of people who just that's not baked into their culture,
Right.
we didn't plan for any of this to happen.
Yeah.
We expected people to have integrity and to do the right thing. And then we have thousands and thousands and thousands of people that are not doing
Mhm.
that.
And to
And
be
so
fair
we
to the
allow it.
Yeah, and to be fair to the government, all that was really created, I mean, other than the ELD part, but most of the FMCSA stuff was created prior to us having offshore dispatching services and
Absolutely.
all these like advanced tech like
Yeah.
this. Because really the offshore dispatching services, you guys like that is what cooked the little baby to grow up because they learned everything about our industry.
Yes. And
Yeah.
those are the same ones. The ELD, like the data warehouses, those are typically the same ones where the dispatch service is.
Crazy. And
Mhm.
yeah, that's another rabbit hole I could talk about for hours. Maybe we'll do that on the next episode. But dispatching services, like they're not bad, but how do you vet those and how do you know about those and what should be there should be a new like we should come up with a new standard of if you are a legitimate company, you provide this or you do that or there's something different that you do to distinguish that. And as a broker, you don't shut them down because they're doing it the right way.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like we should shift our mindset on that. And then I think that will at least give us where we can identify these bad dispatching services
Yes.
faster, where right now it's just a cluster.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Crazy. Well, thanks so much for coming on. This was so fun. I'm
Thanks
so
for
happy you're
having
here.
me.
Tell everybody how they can find you, all the things that you do. And, I know you mentioned your website. So pitch yourself, girl.
Thanks. I post mostly on X. Again, typically I don't get the legal pushback on that when I'm trying to tell people something and inform them. I don't want to argue with an attorney,
Yeah.
even though it's probably one of my favorite things to do. It doesn't happen as much. So I also X has revenue share. LinkedIn does not.
Good to know.
So I am on LinkedIn, Danielle Chaffin. I am on X at maybe Danielle with three E's at the end, but all of that is linked on my website, Danielle#Chaffin.com. And if you happen to be interested in TMS, then it's Danielle Chaffin at Revenova.com.
Definitely, I love it. By the way, your Twitter handle, I gotta tell you something funny. So my maiden last name is Lee, Lee. So whenever I first saw your name, it said like maybe Danielle EEE. I was like, in my mind, I thought it said Lee. I'm like, is this girl posing as me? And then I saw the E's and I'm like, oh. And I was like, and nobody knows my maiden name anyways, but I don't know
Yeah,
why I thought that initially. But I'm like, what are the coincidences of that?
that's really funny.
I
Yeah,
know.
maybe Danielle with one E was taken. And
So we had
so
to have
three was better than one, I guess.
Maybe Danielle, Deli. Yeah, something like that. Cool. Well, thanks so much for coming on. Bye, you
Yeah.
guys.